everybody, welcome back once again to another episode of Upshift Creek with me, Ollie Pedgrew, but I'm never alone. I'm also joined by my esteemed co-host Nick Calderon and Ryan Sander. Guys, welcome back.
Zoom, zoom,
Great
bitches.
We just got done watching the British Grand Prix weekend. I'll tell you this much, this is as close to papaya as I can have. But it was a good weekend to be a fan of British motor racing because not only were we at Silverstone, one of the greatest tracks in the world, but what a great race weekend for us, man. I'm happy.
Yeah, for the first 2 laps, it was a really exciting race.
4 laps. I'll get 4 laps, but I'll tell you what, we'll get to the race because, well, first of all, I thought, what did you guys think of this race weekend, just in general?
Well, Silverstone's always fun, right? You know, I watching the beginning history vignette that they put together. I love those. Understanding that Silverstone is really where F1 was kind of born, and the history behind all that, and all the English teams that are based in the area. It's one of my favorite tracks. Some of the best cornering, high speed opportunities for overtakes. It's great track.
It's because it's an old, like, I think it is a World War II airfield or something like that. So it's huge, it's sprawling. And then, yeah, you could hear them talking about the weather and they go, it's raining in Brackley. And everyone's like, Brackley? Like Lewis is always talking about, back where the Mercedes. But yeah, a lot of the teams are based there. Aston Martin, it's their home track. Mercedes is pretty much their home track as well. So there's a lot of experience. And then we log in for qualifying on Saturday. And the British weather is kind of doing its thing. It was like, it doesn't know. Don't know what we're doing, but it started off where we were still like a little bit moist out there in Q1. And if we were wondering if it was going to get dramatic at all, we were all moist at the point where Lewis Hamilton spun on cups and went into the gravel, and it's like, oh, here we go.
Yeah. I feel like if it was any other driver, they probably would have had to retire from qualifying, but he was able to hang on to it. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the guys were saying, I mean, Martin Brundle particularly, is that once you get into the gravel, if you stop moving, you're done. You're dead meat. And so, like, it was Brundle, you know, as soon as he spun, and everyone's got the heart in their mouth if you're a British fan, and you hear Martin Brundle go, oh, he's fine, because he's kept it moving. It's like, you know, I love that. I wonder how Lewis and Alonso feel about this, but he's old enough now that Brundle calls him the wily old fox.
Wow.
Well, keep in mind, you know, clearly there's no traction control on these cars. You know, Hamilton is wrangling 1,000 horsepower car with 0 ground clearance in gravel and trying to feather that clutch so he doesn't spin the tires and just dig in. So that was amazing that he was able to recover that.
And it seems like those tires are so sensitive too. Like once you go off onto that gravel, those tires seem like they're toast.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest star of the weekend was tires in general. They were like, it was incredible. All the tires were doing pretty amazing stuff. But Q1 was fascinating because, right at the beginning, Lewis, he's only got about 4 corners to go. He goes off, and then everyone is twitching through cops. You hear them downshifting. You see every car they're turning left and they're turning right. And the times were like, it's like, who's going to have the biggest balls, basically? Who's going to go for it first? And it was very, very tentative. Like we saw Cops, Sainz was twitchy, Leclerc was twitchy, Albon was twitchy. And it kind of set up that thing of timing. The best thing for you is to be the last car over the line because the track's drying, it's rubbering in, the tires are getting into temperature. And that was where it just got, Q1 was fascinating, like nail biting, wasn't it?
I've said this before, but I think I enjoy watching I think I have more fun watching qualifying than I do actually watching the Grand Prix. Like I feel like there's so much more at stake, even though I know it leads into it. But that last lap of each qualifying section is so bonkers that my heart is in my throat. And I'm just like, who's going to take it? What's going on? What's going to happen?
Also less of a time commitment too. You know?
Yeah.
No, that's fair. Yeah.
But it's fair. Like, honestly, I mean, you're right, Ryan, but it's like, they used to do qualifying by just putting it on for an hour. And everyone goes and races round and round and round and round. And then the only real important part was the last 5 seconds of the last minute of the full hour, which is why when they put in Q1, Q2, Q3, suddenly we're invested in 3 different qualifying sessions. And you get moments like exactly what happened in Q1 because we had Logan Sargent did his eagle fly, eagle screech, went through the air. But 3 minutes to go, K-Mag loses power, which is foreboding, considering what happened in the race. We get a red flag. And where we end up with is like, you know, we've got 3 minutes, which is just enough time for everyone to get out and everyone to get a lap in. It got a little interesting though. Like we saw that Ocon nearly hit an Alfa Romeo. Do you remember that part that was an Alfa on the outside? Ocon was on a flying lap.
Oh my, that would have been horrific.
Ooh, that was a bit of a brown trousers moment. And then we got an error from Max Verstappen, who took off his front wing in the pits.
No. Listen, Max does not make mistakes. Okay, Ollie, can we just get this? Let's strike that from the record. Max does not make mistakes.
He was trying to make his car lighter.
The front tires shattered. That's all that happened. Okay, just back it and change the wing. We're fine.
I think. I love how he's so casual about it as well. Did you see in his interview afterwards? He says, "Oh yeah, I had a little incident," which is him referencing some video of Charles Leclerc from 10 years ago when they were karting, and it's like, all right, there you go. Max is actually relaxing a bit, and it's all giggle until you go, yeah, that was a $200,000 wing you just trashed for a joke.
I kind of wish they would just drop that in a UPS and send that over to me. It would look so good on my living room wall. Cool. I want that so bad.
I'm sure your wife would love that.
She would actually. My wife has actually looked into it.
Oh my God.
She's into it, the idea. So
that's great.
I'm free and clear on that one.
Nice.
So much like Ryan, you were saying about like the idea of towards the end it gets exciting. We're approaching the end of Q1. All right. So at this point, like the checkered flag's kind of gone out. Everyone's on their last flying lap, and we've got Perez in 9th, Verstappen 12th, Leclerc 13th, Sainz 14th, Hamilton 15th, Russell 16th. And suddenly, every time a car crosses the line, it's just like this. You're watching the timing sheets, and it's absolutely bonkers. And once it's all said and done, we've watched Perez tumble from 9th to 16th. We've got Norris top, Leclerc 2nd, Russell 3rd, Hamilton 4th, Piastri scraping through in 14th. But the big story, once again, is Perez. Is this the 4th in a row?
Fifth. I think fifth.
Fifth, yeah.
He's
fifth Q1 knockout in qualifying for Perez, and that is very, very concerning. We've joked about it for weeks now, and at this point, it's not a joke anymore. That you've got Danny Ricks waiting in the wings. And Perez, and Perez just making what seems to be mistakes. Now, is he in his head? Does he need to go see some kind of guru or shaman to have a little vision quest and straighten his shit out? I don't know, but this is not the kind of poor performance that Red Bull will suffer through for much longer.
Yeah, and after this weekend, he's probably wondering if McLaren will take him back.
And Danny Rick too. So he's paid $18 million to not drive a car that's now really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my heart bleeds for him.
Well, and I was actually wondering, do the McLarens look fast at this point because of the really good timing of qualifying, or are they really fast? It was kind of hard to tell at the beginning of qualifying.
Well, this is the thing, and I did mention it. We've mentioned it before, but 4 races ago, but it was over a month. Mika Hakkinen came out in the press, and he was quoted as saying, "Just wait until these McLaren upgrades come. They're going to be as fast as the Red Bulls." And everybody was like, pfft, especially because in that very race, McLaren had an absolute stinker. They were just, absolutely nowhere. They were at the back. Well, I tell you this much. If Mika Hakkinen ever gives me advice on stock to buy or something else, I will listen to Mika Hakkinen, because those upgrades on the McLaren have completely transformed the car.
Do they ever mention like what specifically those upgrades are, or is it just a blanket term? They can't say like. No,
they do. So they were listing them actually. I was just reading it, but running into this race, they gave a list of. So Mercedes, they had a pair of upgrades. McLaren got front wing, rear wing, a whole bunch of stuff that was tweaked. So essentially, it's almost like were they just like not paying attention in the off season, and they forgot to do the homework, and they were like, oh, I'll try and do it at the last night, and then now they're trying to rewrite it last minute, because it's like if they've done this from the beginning, because we've seen Mercedes improve, McLaren improve, and we've seen Aston Martin get worse. Like their upgrades have downgraded.
Well, have they even upgraded, or have they, that, yeah, it's curious. And then I do want to get into the race. So let's get through qualifying here, because I'm anxious to talk about the race. And Alonso, kind of not giving us the show that we were hoping for.
Well, I tell you what, wait, because there's still lots to talk about in qualifying. Q2, right at the end of Q1, Bottas lost power as well. Funny, because we have been saying, like, Nick, you were the one that pointed out what incredible reliability we've had. But I think we're, what now, 10, 11 races into the season, we're finally starting to see some of those engines pop off, because that was definitely a feature of the weekend. So we've got a bit of a delay because Bottas's car had to be recovered. But 5 minutes to go in Q2, we've got Piastri top of the table with 5 minutes to go. The track is ramping up. Then Norris goes half a second clear on top. And like, when it's all said and done, we ended up with Verstappen top, Piastri second, Norris third, Albon fourth, and Russell just squeaking through squeaky bum time in 10th. But like I tell you, it's like, for the British drivers, and I count Albon as a British driver. He's British born. I know he's gone with Thailand because that's where he gets his sponsorship. But like, the Williams looking slippery and racy as well this weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was so fun to see. After so many years of Williams struggling towards the back of the pack, it's just not what you wanted to see. Williams has such a great history in Britain, and it's nice to finally see some of the effort that they're putting in paying off. Still a bit of a blank slate car as far as sponsorship goes. So hopefully this performance in the last couple of races brings in some dollars and reinvigorates a Williams team.
Yeah. They did have a really cool livery this race, though.
Yeah, I like that.
That was cool.
I did like that, actually. I like that livery a lot. And interesting, a lot of chat about Albon, because there's rumors of, if Leclerc leaves Ferrari in search of a team where he's true number one driver, that Ferrari's looking at Albon. And I'm not surprised. That guy has been a solid driver since he turned up. Q3, though, it's fully dry, and it still gets interesting. We had a bit where Piastri, he tried to affect his downforce by pretty much rearranging the floor of his car. But when the checkered flag came down, much like in Q1, 9 cars on a flying lap. And the grid went bonkers. I mean, as did the crowd. Suddenly, Norris goes top. He's ahead of Sainz, Russell, Hamilton, Alonso, who have all finished. Verstappen's still on track. Piastri goes over the line in third. That's a guaranteed second row. And then we all glance up to see, like, where's Verstappen? And he's got green, yellow. He's got a yellow middle sector. And everyone for maybe 3 seconds believed it was going to happen. And then Verstappen crosses the line, he's 2 tenths faster. Like, come on!
Yeah. God.
I've renamed Verstappen the Purple Wizard, because it's just those purple sectors. Somehow he's able to just improve and improve and improve. So yeah, he is now the Purple Wizard.
So yeah, that was a great qualifying note. And then the biggest result, and the question you were asking, Nick, is, do you think that answered your question even there with the McLarens? They're looking fast.
Well, it did answer my question as far as qualifying goes, because clearly at that point the track was dry. We're not really seeing, the track was improving, but so were the McLarens with it. So that was, I'm like, okay, these improvements are the real deal. They are really fast. But is this a case of the Haas syndrome, where we see them set up for qualifying and can set a blistering lap, but then can't sustain it? Well, let's get into the race.
I think, well, we will very quickly, but it was in the interviews afterwards. The post-qualifying interviews were great. One, because I was like, oh, that's what Piastri's voice sounds like. We haven't heard from this guy in the entire season. And then Lando just being really funny and just like going, it was great, but then, Max, he just ruins everything. He was just doing stand-up comedy for the crowd, and they were eating that shit up. I loved it.
And that shot of Verstappen on the grid there, like holding his head in shock that there were 2 McLarens behind him. I thought for a second that was some kind of Photoshop or AI, and then I realized, oh no, that was really his reaction.
Lando said something effective like, it was all going really great, then Max had to just ruin everything.
Just ruined everything. But yeah, absolutely. Let's jump into the race, because the race starts. Everyone was a little bit excited because it was being very English summer. So gray clouds everywhere and potential of rain, low temperatures and stuff like that. But into the start, Max, who's been in the past used to have trouble getting his starts, has been on fire, honestly, for this entire season. didn't quite get it right. And Norris gets him into turn one. The crowd goes wild. Piastri almost gets him as well. I mean, I was absolutely screaming at the beginning.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
I feel like it would have been such a different race if Piastri got ahead of him too, because he could have at least blocked Verstappen a little bit, and maybe Lando could have gotten further away. But
Yeah,
I was hoping that story ends.
And I'm of course a Max fan. We all know that, but I was hoping the same thing too. I was like, oh, come on, Oscar, let's really make this interesting. And I think one of the most electric things about watching Formula One, especially at a race like Silverstone, is when you have the crowd going wild and you can hear the crowd over a field of 20,000 horsepower cars charging. Like that to me is just what gets so exciting. I loved it.
They said like 450,000 people there, and it was the first time I was like, "Wow, you can actually hear the crowd over these cars, roaring." It was so exciting.
Yeah. It's why the British drivers talk about Silverstone the way they do, and Lewis always acknowledges that the electricity of the crowd just adds something to making you push. I mean, I don't know about you, I was holding my breath. Now, if you remember when Lewis and Max were really dueling, is it 2 seasons ago? But at Silverstone, where they went into Copse. Neither of them blinked, and Max went into the wall at 150 miles an hour. That was the same corner that on lap 1, we've got Piastri going up the inside, and I've got, oh no, a rookie. And then Max gave him a lot of room. You saw it, like Max gave him loads of room. But I was like, that was a real like, thank God, because that is a dangerous corner.
Yeah. But that's now, would you argue that's now a more mature Max Verstappen, or is that a Max Verstappen that knows he really doesn't need to send it right now? Or is that a Max that knows that's not Lewis Hamilton next to him? There's a very, very big difference between Oscar mounting a charge and Lewis Hamilton, the 6-time world champion, pulling up alongside you, and how much you need to fight there.
I think there's a big difference because that old Max, that one that went into the wall, was the I'm looking for my first championship and there's 1 point in it, Max. Whereas this one is, I don't need to deal with this. And like, he's much more mature. We've seen it in his driving. He's much more confident than he is. He doesn't need to take those risks. So, okay, the race continues. We've got Norris up front. There's no DRS for 4 laps. As soon as DRS turns up, somewhat inevitably, Max does then take Lando, but he makes him work for it. Norris didn't just hand it over.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah,
and I was glad to see that.
Defense. Yeah,
I was glad to see Norris fight because so many times we've seen drivers be like, "Well, it's Red Bull and they're so far ahead, and the fight isn't with them today." You know what? No, you're out on a racetrack, fight. And it was great to see Lando really mount, give him some challenge to it. You knew it was going to happen, but he didn't make it easy.
No. It was fun. It was because of this race that I know who Lando Norris is.
It was fun because the thing about having Lando up front and Max trying to battle with him is that if Norris fights, you back him up into the other McLaren. So it was quite good that like McLaren as a team were in a great position initially. Granted, then Max chews him up on lap 5, but then Lando and Piastri, they agreed that let's go in formation. We'll work together and stay fast. And then Lando was holding onto the back of Max for a number of laps in the DRS zone. So the 3 of them were actually able to pull away. I thought McLaren's teamwork and and they had their real sense about them. It really paid off for them in the race.
Yeah, their teamwork was spot on today, and I think they knew that they had to work together. They were in a good spot. This really could play out to be a great weekend for McLaren overall. No reason to take unnecessary risks. You've got 2 guys, 2 good drivers, 2 young, hungry drivers. Put them in lockstep, and let's finish this race.
Yeah, now they have the cars to back it up too. So I mean, there's no reason. I'm wondering now: do you think this is going to be a turning point for the rest of the season, or is this just like, are they a one-trick pony where everyone else is now going to upgrade and even the field out?
We can, but I think the one thing that is being pointed out is you saw in the top 10, especially over the last few laps, is that everyone has closed the gap to Red Bull. Everyone's closing the gap. Everyone's getting closer. The racing's getting closer, which is a good thing. I mean, granted, doesn't mean that Red Bull can't go, oh, by the way, we found another wing. It could happen. But also with the Red Bull, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You've built a fast car, so don't mess with perfection. But I think it's getting closer. So in my heart, I want to believe, because I do love Lando, and I've been a McLaren fan like for whole life. It's been painful watching them at the back for a while. But I think it was initially, right, written up as it was going to be a race of tire strategies, and everyone was expecting the softs to cook off in 10 laps. But like I was saying earlier, the biggest star of the race was the tires, because every set of tires, soft, medium, hards, was playing, and it was quite interesting to watch.
Yep. And you got the Sainz Russell battle, like lap 5, those guys really going toe to toe. Russell making those soft tires last. That was surprising. And, you know, while we're on the subject of tires, Oli, I'm surprised that so far this year, we haven't seen a lot of marbling and graining or even blistering of tires. If you remember just a few seasons ago, these tires, when they would fail big, and you'd see these big chunks, you know, spots on the tires. And I feel like we're just not really seeing that this season. We're seeing a lot of tires going off, but they're not coming apart like we had seen in previous seasons.
Well, you're 2 years ago, Silverstone, where, remember, 3 laps from the end, everyone's tires started failing. Lewis Hamilton won the race on 3 tires.
Yeah.
Everybody's tires were going off. Those are the smaller wheels, though, remember? So since we've gone to the bigger wheels and we've changed the downforce, I think that's what's kind of happening, is they're not cooking off the tires anymore.
Has Pirelli instituted their upgrades? Have they changed? Have they done anything different to make the compounds of those tires more stable? Or
They must have. I mean, like, I still think, bring back the tire wars. I love the days of back in, some were on Pirelli, some were on Bridgestone. So everyone's tires, you had different tire strategies and different tire compounds. That was awesome.
I'd like to see that again too.
Yeah.
That Russell putting in the work on those soft tires was really played into some strategy towards the end of the race, because people saw what it was able.
Yeah, a lot of people, because he ended up going something like 20 something laps. 24 laps or something like that. I mean, because we had, you know, Lewis was kind of moving up, Perez was moving up, but not fast enough, not as fast as many people expected as well, considering, you know, he's in the Red Bull. There was threats of rain, which was like every now and again, it was like, oh, it's sprinkling, it's not sprinkling. It's like they kept teasing us, they were just edging us the entire time.
I was going to wonder who's going to jump the gun and pit and throw intermediates on and then just be absolutely fucked for the rest of the race.
Well, and Oli, you know, you're saying Perez not moving up the field as fast as people thought. Well, that's not going to happen anymore, because like you said, the rest of the field has collectively gotten faster and closer in pace to the Red Bulls overall. So that's what makes Perez's poor performance in qualifying even more dire. If he starts back at 10, 11, 12, it's not going to be as easy for him to drive up to the front like it had been earlier in the season. So he needs to figure this out, and fast.
Yeah, I'm for real. I mean, at this point, the race pretty much stabilized, apart from we lost Ocon. He had some hydraulic leak, I think. It was pretty much the beginning of an atrocious weekend for Alpine. But yeah, like I said, at that point, everyone's just waiting for the pit window. Everyone's kind of holding on, because safety cars are very common in Silverstone. I think it's just because it's high-speed racing, high-speed corners, like Nick says. People get it wrong. The car gets left out there. You've got a sort of safety car. Finally, lap 19, I think, is when they blink. We got Leclerc. He pitted, which put Russell up to 4th. Leclerc putting the hards on. Verstappen's asking about that pit. That was another great moment where we see the Ferrari pit, and then Verstappen comes to the radio going, hey, so I saw the Ferrari pitted. What do you think we should do? I was just, I was watching on the big screen. And like, again, these drivers blow me away.
Yeah.
Even before that, you had Ferrari on the radio asking Sainz to do plan B, and he's like, well, what was plan B? I assumed Leclerc was pitting to figure out what plan B was so he can then relay that to Sainz. Did not work out as well as I thought.
Yeah.
Verstappen, cool as a cucumber. So was Lando as well. Every time you got him on the radio, it's like, hey guys,
how's it going?
At that point, you got a little tense towards the end. Russell had a bad pit stop, though. That was like a 3.4 second pit stop.
That kind of cost him, didn't it? But that's the thing as well, because it's Leclerc was back in 12th, and we're finding out that the hards weren't great on the Ferraris, which again paid off later in the race as well, because it took him 7 laps or so to get his temperature into the tires of the hards. Lap 27, Sainz pits, and that's the critical moment, right? It's because Russell pits from 4th, ends up behind Leclerc. Piastri pits from 3rd. He comes out 6th. So Sainz, Russell, the only people that are out there that haven't pitted is like Verstappen, Norris, Hamilton, Alonso, Albon. And what we got was, like I said, Leclerc's hard's not paying off. You've got Russell on the mediums. That bit when Russell went around the outside, that all the way around that long sweeping corner, that was an amazing overtake. And at some point,
that was great.
Crofty was quoting Craig David as well. Craig David lyrics was pretty interesting. But yeah, that was the crux moment, lap 32. K-Mag, exactly the same place. His car blows up. He's got flames coming out of his car, VSC. And that's the moment that screwed Piastri's race a little bit, and made Hamilton's race come alive and gifted Verstappen and Norris like that moment. You know what I mean? That was that real thing of that's why people were waiting. And it was just brilliant that as halfway through the pits, now we get a safety car. Boom, race is flipped on its head.
I was surprised to see them send out a VSC considering where the Haas had stopped. I'm like, this is definitely going to be a safety car, right? Right.
Is there any reason? I was wondering why he didn't pull all the way off of the track, or unless he actually just physically couldn't move the car though.
Oh, it was dead. The car was totally dead. Like you heard it. Like when you watch the replay, it's just toast. Yeah. So it just.
I thought they were. I thought they were engaging like their turbo thrusters, like that was their upgrade, but it just literally backfired.
It's just a long flame. It's like afterburner, but it just kept burning the car instead. Which was tough. So that was like tough one for Haas. They had a pretty tough race. Tough for Gunter. But there you go. That's a double. It was that K-Mag blew up in exactly the same place during qualifying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I haven't seen one of the quick cuts to Gunter's reaction where it's just his head is in his hands. And he's
no, it was there.
God,
you might have looked away.
No, I know. I haven't seen it in a while.
Okay.
It was really refreshing to see that. Like you can hear him dial texting. He's like, I've done it again.
Sorry, buddy.
You're not going to believe this.
Medicine that guy must be on,
Jesus, God, he is a walking ulcer.
But at the same time, this is where it got interesting with the tires because they all come in and the McLarens put on hards.
Yes,
I'm like, oh no! And Verstappen's put on the softs, Hamilton's put on the softs. And everybody, even the commentators, everyone's like, "Oh, the McLarens are in deep shit."
Yeah. And even Lando gets on the radio and he goes,
"What did Lewis put on?"
What did Lewis put on? And he could hear it in his voice that he knew he was going to be a sitting duck at that point on those hard tires. But
you heard him go, "Oh, great." Yeah. Oh, great. So
but they performed well for him. Like that's
the
crazy.
Thing. Right, we went like 4 laps under safety car, which was again better, all good for the soft guys, not great for the guys on hards. You're not getting any heat in your tires, and like I think it was Brundle that's saying you're going to see the widest McLarens you've ever seen in your life on the restart. And like as soon as it goes, Lewis is right on the back of Lando. Of course he is. He's got the sticky tires on, but of course there's no DRS for 2 laps. And one thing that they do talk about that has been a problem for McLaren up until now is they're very good at getting heat into their tires. The problem was in the past, they were then cooking their tires off. So what started was some brilliant wheel-to-wheel racing with Lewis and Lando, and the crowd were just chewing that. They were one point, I was convinced they were going to take each other out. I was screaming. Yeah. It was so close.
They were literally wheel-to-wheel.
Oh, it was brilliant. I was like, holding my breath, lap 40. And then at this point, suddenly everyone's like, were McLaren really clever about putting on hards and we were all wrong?
I was thinking the same thing.
They did so great on those, but I was wondering too, like would it be a completely different outcome if they were on soft tires? Like would that have been enough to get close to and maybe pass Max in the last 14 or so laps?
They would have had the same problems because you heard Max towards the end of the race going, my tires are shit. You had Lewis going, I've completely lost the back end. And then the 2 McLarens are like, we're good.
Yeah.
Are they just saying that to mess with the other teams though? Is that their strategy?
They can hear them sliding, man. You can see it on their timing. They just drop back. Lewis, after a while of hard fighting for 3 laps, lost 2.5 seconds to him in the end.
But that was some serious, decisive decision-making by McLaren pit wall because it was a ballsy strategy. they know their car, they know how their car treats tires. So we all looked at it like this was the worst possible decision, but it worked. Luck or really, really brilliant strategy and decision making? Good.
I think they understood their car and they understood the tires. Not the only fight that was going on, because we're getting some great stuff with Stroll and Gasly. And we had a bit where Stroll left the track, kind of overtook. Gasly kind of said, you should have been able to do that. He gets okay.
Yeah.
But in the other sort of way, they put the hards on Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. And boy, was that the wrong choice. There was that awful set of 4 corners where he lost to Perez, then Albon, then Leclerc.
Yeah.
Like, it was just, and then Gasly got him and then he got him back. You know, it was like, as Carlos basically lost 4 places in 3 corners. I'm like, wow.
But there was a moment not too long before that where Carlos set fastest lap on those tires.
Yeah.
Which I was like, oh, okay, here we go. This is going to be interesting. You know what? Ferrari just had a abysmal weekend. Abysmal.
I was wondering if that was their plan B. They just didn't do it till it was far too late.
Plan B, go backwards. Yeah, that was tough. And then the whole Gasly Stroll thing was quite interesting. They were fighting through the whole thing, and then like Stroll just went like he just took Gasly out. I mean, that bit where he goes off track completely, and then he just comes straight on and just aims at Gasly, breaks his car, and only gets a 5-second penalty. I thought that's actually quite lenient.
That's what they even said that on the announcement, like for him to only get a 5-second penalty for that, for taking
I was really
car
bummed
out.
about that because Gasly's been struggling. He was looking to have a pretty damn good race today. His car held together, unlike his co-driver, his teammate, and to see him get speared like that was such a bummer because I feel like he needed mentally he needs a good finish. But let's not forget too, we also had Alex Albon in a Williams, past Leclerc in a Ferrari.
Yeah.
Like, my wife is a huge Leclerc fan, and I'm clapping for Albon in a Williams. I'm like, holy shnikes, what's happening?
Honestly, you're right. I mean, it's something that a Brundle said or a Croft. He's like, yeah, a Williams getting past a Ferrari at Silverstone. We haven't said that for 30 years. It's been a while, and that's that's another great point. Like Nick is just that wasn't on anything other than just pure merit. Williams did that on merit, which is brilliant. You know, really cool. Then the tension continued because 52 lap race, lap 48, George Russell, I think he's down in 5th. He gets the black and white flag for track limits. One more, you get a 5-second penalty. That tumbles you down. Lap 49, Lando Norris gets the black and white flag for leaving and one of those 5-second penalty. He's down a 5th. So I'm like this. For the last just like, Norris, just keep it inside the white lines, buddy. We don't want Austria happening all over again.
The good news, though, you had Hamilton's tires now not really working, not competitive. So Lando could back off a little bit and manage to keep it in the lines. I think he was probably pushing real hard during that fight with Hamilton on those fresh soft tires.
And he was just out of DRS range, right? So he was just far ahead enough that he could do that. And he had, I mean, they're using all like you might have to explain this to me. The energy that they have, like there's a spare battery where they get like a little turbo boost. I don't know how any of that works, but it sounds fascinating. Why not just use that all the time, idiots?
Well, I tell you what, they were kind of
batteries
about the race.
go dead. So
you charge them up in the braking area, but there's not a lot of braking around Silverstone, which is why they're actually then having to harvest power to charge up their battery. It's kind of something they were talking about. But otherwise, if you've got a lot of braking, it charges your battery a lot easier, and you're able to kind of use it more. But as it ends up, it's for once, Verstappen is not 20 seconds up the road. He's only a few seconds, about 3 seconds up. We get Norris in 2nd, Hamilton 3rd. We get 2 Brits on the podium. In fact, Brits 2nd, 3rd, 5th, and 8th at Silverstone is a bloody awesome result. And just hats off to him. Oscar Piastri, 4th place, the rookie. And we all know if the safety car had gone different, that would have probably been him on the podium.
That I was really hoping he'd be able to battle Lewis a little bit at the end once Lewis's tires were kind of fading, but didn't quite put it in there. But yeah, great showing for the kid.
Yeah, but at that point, it's also just get the car across the line. That
seriously.
took McLaren, gave them 30 points. They've jumped up to 5th in the championship. Like, just think about, what that does as far as prize money. That's a big deal. So, like, I mean, it was great to see, because Nick, you've been joking about it, about Zach Brown, about him just having a shocker of a year. And, and like saying is he's almost feeling like is his job in jeopardy. He's going around high-fiving the entire pit lane, just aggressive American high fives as well. None of those sort of British ones. He was smacking the crap out of everybody.
Oh yeah,
I think he probably realizes it too. Let's not forget when the season started, we were all, I think we even put McLaren in upshift creek category
many times,
once, maybe a couple of times, because they just were the dogs to come out as a team that is a very good, highly regarded team to be starting where they did. None of us thought they could turn it around like they did. This was pivotal for McLaren at a pivotal race to put their two guys up there like they did. That's some serious hard work going on at the factory from the top down, and they should be high-fiving everybody. They really should, because Lando's a great driver.
Yeah, hopefully this signals a change, like we were saying earlier, that they can keep this performance going and really start to see more contention from them.
It's also nice to see that, because Max and him are good mates. They were really good.
Yeah.
The sort of the top 3 interviews was quite fun as well. Everyone was very relaxed, and like the cool down room, there was no tension. They were all just like joshing around. And like Brunda was like, "No, we don't want them to be friends. We want them to be like."
Yeah. Now I know Netflix is like, no, we can't have this.
Silverstone will be the lost episode. They're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, nothing happened. But actually, like you mentioned, McLaren have been a big winner of the Upshift Creek Award. But for me, I'm going straight into it for my Upshift Award, the award that we give to the best team, the best driver, the person having the best weekend. For me, there's no other name written down except McLaren. McLaren is my Upshift Award across the board. Yep. What do you guys think?
They were my second only to Brad Pitt.
Coming out of retirement at that age to race in Formula One, amazing. Absolutely
unheard of. Yeah, you didn't really see a lot from Team 11 this weekend, unfortunately.
Ollie, I'm going with you, man. I actually was going to give it just right to Lando, just because I don't know. I like the guy. We've seen really good performances from him in the past. The team just hasn't been, delivering like they should. So I'm giving it to Lando, but absolutely you could make the argument for giving it to McLaren as a whole.
Same, yeah. I had that too. But
Upshift Creek's a little bit harder, which are award for people who are just completely Upshift Creek without a paddle. I know, Nick, you've been sort of suggesting Ferrari had a bit of a shocker. Alpine, they had just a rotten weekend with just like a double DNF. But I'm kind of leaning towards Lance Stroll and as such Aston Martin. Stroll was just a bit of a liability on the race. And Aston Martin, they've lost their mojo, man. They've lost their mojo. And I kind of like, we were expecting Alonso, like he was quoted as saying, I'm going to be on the podium all year.
Or did he say, I'm going to be on a podium all year? And at home, he's just got a little podium so he can keep his promise. You don't know.
I'm not ready to pile on Aston Martin yet. Clearly other teams have made upgrades. And Aston finished okay because of these other teams, improving and getting a little faster. If they don't get on the ball though, they're going to have some trouble. I'm going to put my Upshift Creek on Alpine. Mm-hmm. They have had a tough year. They haven't had very many things to pin their hat on at all. And then to have a double DNF like they did this week at home, even and Gasly was showing some pace. It looks like they had made some, good improvements, but that they have to have some kind of payoff. They're past the point of needing a payoff. So I'm giving my Upshift Creek to Alpine. It's tough.
What do you think,
And
Ryan?
normally I give mine anytime I don't get to hear Yuki on the radio. That's like my favorite thing. So that was my front runner. Not hearing Yuki screaming, bit of a bummer. But I was gonna also give it to Alpine for just having a really rough go at it this weekend. It was unfortunate what happened to Gasly. Hopefully, him and Lance Stroll can have like a cage fight or something. That'd be awesome.
I'd like
Just
to
to
see
sort
that, yeah.
sort their shit out. Just like,
Yeah.
but yeah. And to a lesser extent, maybe Haas just having
Yeah.
that blowout really sucked. Like
And then
I put myself in Gunter's shoes. I'm like, oh god, this poor guy.
Yeah,
This
because
poor guy.
Hulk's race got kind of ruined as well.
Yeah.
All right, well that's the race done, but there's more to Formula One than just racing, because there's online commentary and like Monday night quarterbacking, but it's always done best when it's done with the memes from Formula Dank on Reddit. If you're not on Reddit, get on Reddit, and if you're not on Formula Dank, you really should be if you like Formula One. Ryan, were there any quality memes for us to enjoy?
There were. Let me pull and share my screen here.
I always enjoy the Dank Zone.
Did you guys go and watch the Stallone movie this week after all the press that got in last week's race?
Driven?
Yeah, which one are you talking about?
Was it Tiger King or something like that? What was the banner we were seeing all over the
Tulsa King.
Tulsa King.
Oh yeah, Tulsa King. No, they must be fans of the pod, because now there's a new show that they're promoting.
I noticed, yeah. I love that the Paramount, I always see the Paramount recommendations. This one was called Lioness or something like that. Some sort of special forces
like
thing.
Yeah.
I think I'm just going to glue a red button on my remote too, just so I can feel part of the Sky Q, Sky Glass, Sky up your ass customers.
As much as we make fun, the fact that they say it all the time, even us non-Sky people get it. Okay, this first meme is the infamous shot of George Bush being told that the 9/11 attacks are happening. But in this case, it's Mr. President, a second McLaren, a set of purple sector. We were all very excited by that.
Yeah.
That's perfect. What a great use of that picture.
This one's. Let me know if you can read the bottom. God. This was rough.
The national anthem was performed by Damian Lewis, the guy from Billions.
Yeah. Announcing his new album, I had to like double check. Like he got a purple sector. I was like, what the hell is happening right now?
So in this case, it says the UK isn't that embarrassing, and then the UK, and it's Damian Lewis singing the national anthem with a guy playing the saxophone next to him. Wow, I'm glad I missed that moment of cringe.
Yeah, not as bad as Miami was, but still pretty.
That was
awful.
pretty epic, actually, Miami.
Yeah.
Huh. I don't know who that is.
You do. You've seen Band of Brothers. He's the lead guy from Band of Brothers.
Yeah, he's in Dreamcatcher. Come on, man.
Is he English? Is he English? I thought he was an American.
He's English. Yeah.
He's very English. Yeah.
Great accent. This next one. It's the meme where it's the, oh, I don't like that. Oh, maybe I do like that girl. It's the collective groan when Max crossed the line. But for the meme, it says, oh, don't like that. Max on pole again. But then made the British mad. So in this case, British.
British. Yeah. If you're going to say it, really lead into it. Do Silverstone justice.
People do like pissing off the Brits.
This was great.
Yeah, it's just the science radio on screen. We are thinking of Plan B, and he goes, "What was Plan B, Richie? I forgot." I was like, "Yeah, we discovered Plan B was to put hard on and go back."
And then you just hear like a bunch of shuffling papers going around on the radio, like stall.
But at least the Ferrari pit wall took the question mark off of their comments on the radio.
That's
fair. They're saying we're thinking of it. You know.
This one, I actually said the same damn thing.
We all saw it too. Yeah.
It's a picture of the safety car going over the white lines. It's a 5-second penalty for the safety car. I did have a giggle at that when it happened. I also had a bit of a giggle when Lewis Hamilton said he's got absolutely no rear, and then it cut to Shakira, his notorious girlfriend. I'm like, someone's got to make a meme about that. Come on, guys.
My hips.
Yeah, the hips don't lie, buddy.
It could be our first Upshift Creek meme that we put out to the world.
Ooh, there we go.
This is a great one. Okay, so Lando's leading the race, and then we hear "It might rain," and then so it cuts to Lando, and it's got the meme that is the dog that's having Vietnam flashbacks meme.
Yep.
It's just That's a great one because, as we
Gosh.
all remember, Lando almost won in Russia. Then it started raining, and then it all went tits up, and it was just like a knife through the heart of the entire Formula One fandom.
Mhm. And then he totally redeemed himself.
So it's a bit during the end of the race where Verstappen patted Lando on the butt, and in this case, Verstappen fined $50,000 for touching Norris's rear end, which is in reference to the time Verstappen touched a Vettel's car or something like that, right? I love how quick they are with these memes.
Oh my God, it's insane.
Oh, and the fire. This is a good
The
one.
usual. This one gets posted every weekend.
The classic Ferrari clown pit wall meme, and it just says,
Oh,
it's
God.
that time of the week again.
Yeah, I should have put this one first. That's on me. That's on me.
Is that one
I
just,
think
yeah,
of a
do you
lot-
just have that in a folder?
Yeah, it's my screensaver.
All right, this one's great. It's a shot of the cool down room where they're all just sitting, hanging out, and it goes, in celebration of the British Grand Prix, Max invited 2 British drivers onto his podcast. How nice of him.
Oh, nice of him. Yeah. Do I have one more? No, that was
It is
That was
nice
all I
to
got.
see some different people in the cool down room, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
No,
real treat.
It was
Yeah.
good. It was a great
Yeah.
race. It was a great race weekend. I'm very, very happy with Silverstone. And we don't have a race next weekend, do we? I think we have a break before we get to Hungary, I believe is where we go to next.
Nice.
But Ryan, thank you for that. Thank you for the
course.
dank
Thanks.
zone.
Thanks to all the hardworking losers in the Formula Tank subreddit who watch this race while immediately trying to figure out. It's incredible to me. I love it.
They're
You guys are
faster
the
than a
best.
Ferrari on hards. That's what they
You're
are.
the best.
Well, with that, guys, I think we've definitely covered it. That was Silverstone. Those were the memes. Nick, Ryan, thanks as always for joining me. Look forward to the next time, the next race being Hungary, and for everybody else at home. Thank you very much for joining us for another episode of Upshift Creek. You going to say it, Nick?
Zoom, zoom, my brothers.
Well done. Well done.